Alex,
Yes, sir.
it's the end of March, but it's never too late to do a little bracket challenge.
Man.
So, I know who you are. I didn't do anything sports related. Uh,
Hey,
today's
say I'm
bracket,
not really a basketball guy.
today's bracket, I have found 16 invasive species, and your job is to pick the top one. And they kind of have their own little regions here. So, you have your aquatic region, your insect region, your mammal region, and your
Okay.
plant region.
Okay.
I picked 4 from each region, and we'll go from there. So your first matchup is the silver carp and the zebra mussel.
I think as bad as the silver carp are, I think I've got to go zebra mussel just on overall destructive ability and just how quickly they reproduce and how widespread they are. Like silver carp are kind of limited to at least in America, mostly to the south and then the southeast.
Right.
They're making their way north, but the zebra mussel is like so widespread, and
Right.
it's in the Great Lakes. It causes all kinds of problems.
Your next matchup, the cane toad and the sea lamprey.
Man, I think I might have to go to sea lamprey because I know like cane toads, at least in an area like Australia, are incredibly destructive, but the sea lamprey getting into freshwater has caused so many issues
Yeah,
for.
I guess I should clarify that this is like primarily U.S. and their effects on like the U.S. So I
Yeah.
guess cane toad makes sense. Your next matchup, we're moving on to the insect category.
Okay.
Emerald ash borer versus spotted lanternfly.
Oh, emerald ash borer, like that's not even a contest. Spotted lanternflies, they're annoying, and they have become more widespread, but they're not just like the emerald ash borer pretty much completely wiped out all of the ash trees within their range. Like there are very few ash trees left. The spotted lanternfly is at least, I think, a little more manageable in the sense that it really likes to go after like tree of heaven because it's native to its region. So it's kind of on an invasive.
Yeah.
And a lot of the native animals are starting to go after them a little more.
They're also larger than the ash borer and
Yeah.
more like overt. Like
Yes.
I've never seen an ash borer in
I
person,
have seen a few.
but I've seen
They're
millions of
Yeah,
lanternflies.
ash borers are not very big. Like you could probably fit an adult one, like on like the nail
Right.
of your pinky finger. They're
Uh,
fairly relatively small.
your next matchup is the fire ant and the brown stink bug.
See that one's tough because like the stink bug is I think a bit more widespread in the U.S. at least in our area, and they're really annoying.
But they don't cause
But they don't.
issues per se.
Yeah, they're just annoying. Fire ants, like they are harmful. First of all, if you get into like a fire ant nest, you're gonna get tore up, as well as they are so like they can survive so well. If I'm sure you've seen the videos like in flooding situations, say like after hurricanes or something in the southeast, they're actually able to form like mats of ants and
Yes.
float and survive floods. So like you really can't kill them. So I think I could go fire ants on this one.
Next category is the mammal region.
Okay.
We have the feral swine and the nutria.
That feral swine, it's
Yeah,
got to
that's
that's an easy
questions
one.
there.
Nutria. They're annoying, like they're damaging, but not in the way of that the feral swine are, and they're so much more widespread, and they're even to the point feral swine have actually caused deaths, like
Yes.
and the diseases that they spread are even worse. I gotta go. That's no contest.
Next, we have the European rabbit and the red deer.
I don't really know much about both of them.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, obviously, the European rabbit is, all over the place because they're rabbits and they spread like
Yeah,
wildfire.
they're
And red deer are also in the same boat of just like, oh, it's a deer. They just kind of like spread around. Kind of hard to find invasive mammals that aren't, feral hog or nutria.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the European rabbit versus the red deer, I mean, the red deer, they both kind of have the same thing where like they kind of overgraze. I, they wouldn't, I don't, wouldn't expect them to be, I mean, I expect red deer to be a little harder to control just because they are larger, kind of they're closer to the size of like an elk.
Right.
So at least in the eastern US, they would be a problem. But really, I mean, I may have to go with the rabbit just because of how much easier it is for them to spread.
Right.
And I mean, they spread so much faster and they're smaller, so they're harder to control.
All right.
I may have to go with the rabbit.
On to the next
rabbit.
one. We have the plants now. One of the
Okay.
Japanese honeysuckle and the water hyacinth. See, this is the easiest category I had. Like, this is the easiest one to find.
Yeah, might have to go Japanese honeysuckle. Just because it is more widespread. How readily it does spread. It produces tons of berries, and it is difficult to control just because of the way it grows. Like water hyacinth, it's hard to control because it's the water. You can't just like treat it with herbicide because
But it's contained to that
but
water.
yeah, it is a bit more contained. Yes.
Your last plant matchup is the kudzu and the tree of heaven.
Man, I may have to go tree of heaven on this one because kudzu
It's
is
just gross.
bad and it's annoying, but I honestly feel like it's been controlled a little bit. Like I remember seeing, like growing up, I remember seeing it like all over the place, and it seems like it has actually been able to be controlled, at least here in the Northeast. I know down south it's really bad,
Yeah, it's its own beast.
but tree of heaven, like that crap grows everywhere, and like it it can stump sprout like a mother. They sprout from, like they propagate from the roots, like unless you like treat them like to kill them, they don't go away.
Right.
And they grow so fast, and they grow literally like anywhere. Like they'll grow out of cracks in concrete.
It's
Like,
insane.
It is just insane at how quickly and how densely they grow, just all over. They're like kudzu. I don't, because being a vine, I think it's less shade tolerant. So I feel like, but like tree of heaven is a lot more shade tolerant, and
Yeah.
I think I may have to go tree of heaven on this one. That was a tough one. got some tough matchups.
Your next matchup, we're going back to the top. Zebra mussel and the sea lamprey.
I may have to go. I think I got to go zebra mussel again.
It just terrorizes everything.
It is, yeah. I can't, like the damage it does. Like, the sea lamprey are bad. They do a lot of damage to like the native fish, but the zebra mussel outcompeting the native mussels and clams and everything. The way they grow, they cause a lot of infrastructure damage as well. They're really sharp, so they're hard, and they're so super hard to get rid of. I think I may have to go with the zebra mussel.
All right. Next up, you have the emerald ash borer and the fire ant.
Emerald ash borer again. That's, I think, just for the same reasons I gave before, just how rapidly it basically wiped out an entire family of trees.
Right.
Or at least an entire genus.
You have the feral swine and the European rabbit.
Oh, no contest, feral swine. Yeah. Not even that.
Feral swine eats the European rabbit for breakfast.
You basically
literally
just about, yeah. There's no underdog there.
And then you have Japanese honeysuckle and the tree of heaven.
Oh, I may have to go tree of heaven again, because it, again, just the way it grows, how densely it grows, growing taller, it can actually shade out the honeysuckle, and I've seen it grow like in honeysuckle, but pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's just its ability to persist.
All right, on to the final four.
Oh man.
You got zebra mussel versus the emerald ash borer.
I may have to give this one to the ash borer, because at least the zebra mussel is contained.
Yeah, it's stuck in the water. It's not coming out anytime soon.
Yeah, it's damaging. I mean, it's bad. But the ash borer, like, you got to think of the millions of trees that the emerald ash borer has wiped out, and the danger that those cause, because when ash trees fall, their tops usually get really brittle, so they just explode when they fall.
Right.
Like, once it kills those trees, it's not like, they're not even like, you can't even like cut them down, like, and maybe use the wood. Like, it's just toast. Like, they basically just become like toothpicks.
Your next matchup, feral swine, tree of heaven.
Feral swine. It's
you're taking the amount of damage caused versus the ability to just grow wherever it
Yeah,
pleases.
the ability to persist versus damage. I mean, feral swine, like there's almost no content. I think feral swine might take it the whole way if I'm going to be honest. Like there's just its ability to survive in so many different environments as well as the actual destructive capability of them. It's it's hard to compete.
Your final matchup is emerald ash borer and feral swine.
It's yeah, feral swine all day, every day. Like there's no like competing with just the millions and billions of dollars of damage they do. Like the speed at which they reproduce for being like
Yeah,
decent sized mammal.
we've talked about that the curve whatever I forget what it's called RK
PK?
PK
Think
square or PK curves.
yeah, I think so. Whatever it is.
They're large, but they still have a reproductive pattern that
Yeah,
is
because
more aligned with smaller.
they should be a prey animal,
Right.
but they are large. They're pretty fast actually for them, and just the damage they do. They eat anything and everything. Like the ash borer is at least limited in what it eats mostly, and you can do treatments for like on living trees to defend against the ash borer. You can't. It's kind of hard to treat against hogs without just outright like just
Yeah,
macking them all. Like there's
exactly. The only response to a hog is to kill it. Like
yes, yeah, to hunt. I mean, you can eat them, which is a plus, but like without, like I know in areas where they're really bad, especially like the American South, to places like Texas, they have specially designed traps just for feral hogs, and they will capture them, and like it's insane what they have to do to attempt to control them, and they still do so much damage.
all right, well that's it for your bracket. Feral hog takes the whole. Hello everybody, my name is Tyler. That is Alex. Welcome to Life the Complete Story. We are glad you're here. It's been a minute since our last episode.
Yeah,
Big things going on here. We new place for me. You've been busy with
yeah,
the
I got caught
kiddo.
with the kiddo and got caught, and we had a really
Bad rainstorm, bad windstorm.
really bad windstorm. I got pulled to work last week. I worked like a lot, like a bunch of 12-hour days. There was no time to record between that and taking care of the little one, because my wife has been back to work since the beginning of the month. And I can't just.
Yeah, you can't take
he's still,
the hour to say, "Hey, let's drop an episode real quick this weekend."
yeah, it's difficult, but we are back and hopefully try to keep ourselves back on schedule now that everything has calmed down a little bit.
We've been doing good. I think we've only missed 3 episodes so far. It's about one a month.
For good reasons.
Yeah, not because we just forget. Like last year, there was about a solid 2 months where we just did not record.
Didn't. Yeah, there were for no excuse other than we just didn't.
But welcome to Life the Complete Story. As I said, today we are talking about Hylidae. That is the family that houses all of what you would call tree frogs today. We didn't really take too good a notes. We're kind of going to go fly by the seat of our pants on this one. So excuse us on that. But we'll kick it off here. So being such a large family, these guys are sorted into subfamilies and then from their tribes. So the first subfamily we're talking about is Hylidae. And these are, this is a subfamily housing 42 genera. I don't really want to talk about each one specifically.
Yeah, that'd be a lot.
Yeah. So that's about 174 species within. Well, I lied to you. That's not true at all. There's a lot. There's a lot of species. This includes things like cricket frogs, some spiny-headed tree frogs, spike thumb frogs, just to give you a couple examples of what belongs in this subfamily. But I will tell you the genus names in case you want to look them up yourself. We got Acris, Anotheca, Phenodon, Argentiohyla, Boana, Bokumanohyla, Bromeliohyla, Charadrahyla, Corythomantis, Dendros Sophis, Diaglena, Dryadurces, Dwellmanohyla, Ecnomyohyla, Exerodonta, Hyla, Hyliola, Hylocertus, Isthmohyla, Itapatahyla, Lysapsis, Megastomatohyla, Myoceohyla, Nesorohyla, Nycteromantis, Osteocephalus, Osteopileus, Phylodites, Plectrohyla, Pseudocris, Pseudus, Tychohyla, Sarcohyla, Scarthyla, Skynax, Smiliska, Sphenohynchus, Tepuihyla, Glaucohyla, Tricephalus, Triprion, and Xenohyla.
Yeah, and kind of overall, these in this subfamily, they're mostly arboreal frogs. As I said, the name tree frog kind of suggests a variety of sizes and coloration, although mostly greens and browns and blacks to blend in with the foliage. The genus, the genera Smiliska and are actually burrowing frogs. So, like, Smiliska is actually the Mexican burrowing tree frog, or the cross-banded tree frog, are known to burrow into the ground as opposed to being solely in trees. They kind of will do both. They, because they're tree frogs, a vast majority of them have the exaggerated toe pads that are basically like little suction cups, and many of them tend to have larger eyes as well, because many of them are on the more nocturnal side. Of course, not all of them. Some of them are more diurnal and tend to have these smaller eyes. And for these, they deposit their eggs in water, and the tadpoles are aquatic, so many of them tend to persist in wetter areas or areas that have a high possibility of vernal pools. So those pools that kind of are formed in like the springtime when there's a lot of rain, especially in North America. You kind of get like the springtime typically comes with rain, or in those tropical and subtropical regions where they get a lot of rain, and they are able to lay them pretty much year round.
All right, that's also the largest subfamily of
Yes.
tree frogs. The next two subfamilies are relatively small. We can go into them a little bit more in detail.
Yeah, the vast majority, before we go, I'll say Hylineae is found pretty much in north, central, and the northernmost parts of South America, much of temperate Eurasia, Japan, and the extreme northern part of Africa. There's only one genus, Hyla, that is actually found outside of the Americas, because that genus is sort of the wastebasket genus for this subfamily, and they are being separated out further.
Yeah, that one's the one that had that like Alex said, that's the wastebasket genus.
Yes.
That has your Indian tree frogs. Anything that's found in Europe goes there.
Arabian, Japanese tree frogs. And it looks like, just to highlight this, I'm sure a lot of tree frogs are like this. They actually, when you think of frogs and like frogs that call for mates, like sing their songs, a lot of tree frogs actually follow that sort of reproductive strategy where the males will compete either like through singing songs, and the females choose whatever song that they like the best.
All right, that'll bring us to our next subfamily. Alex, you want to tell us about this one?
Yeah, our next subfamily, Leodriadinae. These are the Australian tree frogs. So this subfamily is found in Australia, New Guinea. They have been introduced to New Caledonia, Guam, New Zealand, Vanuatu, Vanuatu, thank you, which are islands in the kind of Oceania Pacific area near Australia. They are a sister group to the leaf frogs, which I believe is another subfamily.
Yeah, that's the next one.
So they are, again, arboreal frogs from those kind of near tropical regions. They are believed to have gotten to Australia and parts of Asia via what is the Antarctic land bridge, when there was a land bridge between the two when during the last ice age, when there was less. Actually, let me pull up this. looks like there, because of the amount of ice, there was less water in the oceans. So I think that it's shown there's that, or actually, I may be completely wrong. It may be before Antarctica actually moved south.
Yeah, it's kind of like South
Yeah.
America's on your left side, Australia's on your right side, and we kind of did like a exchange, like two
Yes.
divorced parents, and said, "Here, you take our tree frogs, and we'll take your possums."
Yes, yeah. So I was incorrect. I apologize. So it had been like the late Cretaceous and late Eocene when the continents were much closer together, and they were actually able to cross between those areas. Parts of it is now underwater. Yeah, because the this is when Antarctica was further north, so it was not covered in ice and glaciers. So correct myself. I apologize. That's something I had not really heard of, was the Antarctic land bridge.
Yeah, I've always heard of the Eurasian
Yeah,
yeah, to
The
North
Berings
America.
from the Bering Strait.
Yeah, but there's a couple genera here,
Yeah.
Alex.
Um, so we do have 222 species, but there are three
Yeah, three, because one's kind of like a uh
okay, one's kind of a we don't know yet
yeah, that inserte
genus.
sedis means uncertain placement in
Yeah.
Latin.
So currently there are 5 species that are in that Inserte Cetus genus, quote unquote. They are placed in the first genus Latoria, which is the largest genus with 102 species. They're currently placed there, but that will most likely change as they're able to do some better like genetic testing and comparisons that. And then our other two genera are Nyctomystes and Rhinoideae.
Yes.
Again, being tree frogs, many of them have these greenish brown colorations that are common with all of these types of frogs.
All right, that'll take us to our final subfamily for today. We're talking Phylomedusae. These are the leaf frogs that Alex kind of alluded to a little bit earlier. They are found within the neotropics, so that's the tropics of South America, Central America, yada, yada, yada. They were considered their own family at one point, Phylomedusidae, and this includes genera such as Gallichinus, which is the poster child for tree frogs. The red-eyed tree frog is in that genus. Calamedusa, which is another genus, it's a little bit smaller, about 6 species versus the 14 within Gallichinus. Crusiohyla has about 30 species in it. Hylomantis has 2. Phasmahyla has 8. Phrynomedusa has 5 living species and 1 extinct species, so 6 total. Phylomedusa has 16, and then Pithecanthropus has 12.
They are all pretty similar. They're all these greenish variety of greens, to like a dark green, almost brown.
Yeah, and it looks like a lot of these images they have like some type of waxy cuticle type over top of them to help them from drying out so quickly in these overall regions, because they don't always get the moisture they need up there.
Yeah, I mean, many of them are tropical. Like I said, like the red-eyed tree frog is a tropical tree frog. They are different because they're considered related to the Paleodryidae subfamily that we just talked about. A lot of it having to do with that Antarctic land bridge. These are the ones that kind of stayed behind in South America as opposed to Australia. So they are sister taxon, but they are distinct from each other in that fact that they kind of geology and the amount of time it has been since that separation, they are different. These groups are a bit different in that sense. But again, typically like the large eyes, like your red-eyed tree frog is your, as Tyler said, your poster child. I'll pull one up here for you. The very large red eyes, they kind of range in colors from this very dark green to a much more vibrant
Yeah,
green.
there's a lot of more vibrant. Yeah. That's really gonna do it for our lesson, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, bit shorter lesson, but these guys are all fairly similar.
Yeah, they climb trees and they have
They're
They're
green and
relatively slender, they're green, big web toes.
small to medium size. There are some larger ones, but relatively the small to medium size is your primary size class for a lot of these because they do live on those leaves. It's easier to blend in being smaller.
Right. But that'll do it for today's lesson. Obviously, we're not done yet. We're never done here.
Of course not.
We'll kick it on into our actually, I'll let Alex start. He's got a really interesting most wanted for us today. We've talked for the past
Yeah.
65 episodes about invasive species in North America, and Alex decided to throw us a curveball, and it's really funny because it's like opening weekend for the MLB, so the curveball is real here.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is wild. So the picture I have pulled up, let me zoom in a little bit. Many of us in the ecology community, especially North America, would probably recognize this plant. This is the common milkweed. So anyone who's from our area knows that this plant is in the genus that, like monarch butterflies, this is the genus of plants that they need to reproduce. They're a perennial forb, like, so they regrow every year. They actually produce like a latexy sap sort of when they're damaged or when you break off like the stems. They can get relatively large, actually. A mature plant in the summertime can be anywhere from 3 to 5 feet, but can reach in some areas up to 8 feet or 2.4 meters in height. These large, broad leaves that are opposite in arrangement. And they create these large, very fragrant flower blooms. Each individual flower is relatively small, but these large blooms are about almost the size of a baseball so pretty decent size. And then after the flowers are fertilized, these bulbs collapse into kind of a large. Let me find a picture of what the seed pod looks like. So the seed pods are because it's kind of hard for me to just describe it.
They're kind of odd in
Yeah.
in shape and description.
So this is kind of what the seed pods look like. I get like a pear sort of shape, but it's not like a fruit when you think of a typical fruit, because inside these will split open and actually contain dozens of little seeds that have these kind of white wispy hairs on them.
Kind of like a dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when the wind blows, these hairs kind of help grab the wind and disperse the seeds, and they'll produce dozens of these on a single plant. And like I said, the monarch butterfly is the most known for this because it is like the primary food source for their caterpillars. But there's over 450 different insect species that will feed on them. They can ranging like bees, different ants, other butterflies going after the flowers, things like that. And they can inhabit a lot of different croplands, old pastures, ditches, edges of roads, just kind of open meadow space. Even there's some species within this genus that are actually more, it's called the swamp milkweed. They can actually inhabit kind of more wetland areas. The problem with that is not in the United States. This is native to kind of central, eastern Canada and north central and the eastern United States, and has been introduced to other parts of the United States, like the Southeast, as well as the far Northeast and Oregon. But they've also been introduced to areas of Europe and Western Asia. And this is where that kind of becomes how this kind of common plant to us is an invasive species. Because of all those things I have said, they're able to persist kind of in a lot of just kind of grassland sort of areas. There's a lot of that in like Europe or certain parts of Asia. And those seeds, because they're just carried by the wind, and over there are no monarch butterflies or things like that that would actively chew on the plants themselves and eat the plants, that would destroy the plants, that would prevent them from growing and spreading. And so actually in the European Union, the common milkweed has been classified as an invasive alien species and is then prohibited from importation and trade within the European Union. And there are over 40 distinct pathogens that have been identified that attack just this plant, but I'm sure that there's ways that they could attack other plants as well. It can become a very aggressive grower, can grow from the roots as well as from the seeds. It has a very wide tolerance range and is winter hardy, so it can survive winter, pretty rough winters. If so, for USDA, so the United States Department of Agriculture, the hardiness zone is a 3 to 9, so they can tolerate temperatures as low as -40 to -30 degrees Fahrenheit, all the way up to, and this is the minimum temperatures. So I'd say, yeah, as low as -40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty close to -40 Celsius as well. That is the low end of the winter, and the upper end kind of that 20 to 30. So a mild winter to us that's pretty much the entirety of Europe.
Wow, perfect.
Yeah. With obviously some exceptions for the very far northern reaches. But
like
yeah.
Siberia
Yeah.
and things of that nature.
Yeah. And the other problem with these is animals that are not, what's the word I'm looking for, adapted to eating these plants. The latex that comes out of the plants, that white milky sap that I was talking about, contains large quantities of cardiac glycosides, which are...
That sounds fun.
It is a class of organic compounds that will actually cause the heart to kind of increase the output force of the heart, but also decrease its rate of contractions by inhibiting the sodium-potassium pump for the ATP pathway. So a short version of that is it basically causes the heart to go into, when you have too much, it causes the heart to basically just stop working, like the heart muscle.
Yeah, it's just cardiac arrest.
In low quantities, it actually can be helped to treat things like congestive heart failure and arrhythmias, but in those higher concentrations, and in this case as a large quantity, basically gives the animals a heart attack when they try to eat the leaves and stems. That is to humans, large animals, so a lot of mammals. The young shoots and leaves are edible raw, and the immature flower buds and fruits, but it is a very bitter tasting plant.
Yeah, it's the edible but not really palatable type thing.
Yeah. So it is something that if it is not something that an animal has kind of evolved to eat and tolerate the large amount of cardiac glycosides and the other toxins within it, it can cause severe problems, if not outright kill something.
Yeah, a simple solution. She seems to want a butterfly over there.
Yeah.
Simple solution. Where are they gonna migrate to in the winter? I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
I highly doubt they're crossing the Atlantic to go back to Mexico.
Yeah, I don't think so. So that is kind of the problem why in parts of Europe and areas it's been introduced, why it has become an invasive, because it has nothing that eats it. There's nothing that eats it, so it can just spread like wildfire and has really no predators in those introduced areas. The plus side why it is limited to kind of like Europe and like those temperate parts of Europe is because the seeds do actually require a period of cold before they germinate, also called cold stratification, which some plants that are in these temperate areas, they need that cold
That's
kickstart,
cool.
kind of helps kickstart the germination. So like when it's underground, it gets that cold, and then once it warms back up, it kind of it's kind of like it loads it, or yeah, think of it like a crossbow, or like a catapult. It loads the catapult, gets it ready, or like a rubber band, or rubber
Yeah, so
band, gum band.
something we have to put kinetic force into it
Yes,
to load it up.
yeah. So it kind of pulls back the rubber band, and then once it warms back up, it is released, and that kind of causes that germination. But it does quickly grow in those early springs into early summer areas.
Your cold temperature allows it to store kinetic energy so that whenever it's ready to sprout when it warms up, it doesn't require as much kinetic energy and it can just sprout.
Correct. But yeah, so that's why in those non-native areas it's invasive, even though to us this is a very common and actually desirable plant in things
Right.
like pollinator gardens. But
It's funny how once you cross the premeridian, like things just change like magic.
yeah. But so that's why it is still limited in where it's at, because it needs that cold, even though it can tolerate some more like arid environment. But it needs that little bit of cold to cause the germination. So it is going to be still concentrated to those temperate kind of middle northern parts of Europe, but it's still not something that they want over there. So that's how kind of to us in America, how a common desirable plant is invasive elsewhere, and vice versa.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it much more later when we get to, I don't know, more prevalent plants and animals in the U.S. Because right now we've been talking relatively sticking within the realm of what we've talked about in the lesson for the episode. But I'm sure as we get to larger things, we'll talk more about how that flips once you cross the pond or something of that nature.
Yes.
But I'll take over for my amazing species. Now I'm going to ask you to imagine yourself in 2022. You know, pandemic is kind of like finally passing over, and you are an avid ecologist, and you're like, man, I bet with these past 2 years of people just, being stuck in their house because of COVID, I bet something has rebounded, right? So you go on your little nature walk. You live in the middle of nowhere in Costa Rica, and you walk through your nature preserve that was used to be just an overgrazed field many, many years ago. And now it's 2022, and you find this weird chirping noise. It's a new frog. You didn't know it was there. And that is our amazing species for today. We are talking the Tapir Valley tree frog, found
I wondered where you were going with that.
found in Costa Rica in the Tapir Valley Nature Reserve. First discovered in 2022, assessed in 2022, and published in 2024. Found off of one couple that was found in that Tapir Valley Nature Reserve, which is about a single 8-hectare wetland system within the Tapir Valley Nature Reserve.
So it is in the northern part of Costa Rica, fairly kind of close to Nicaragua, found just north of the Parque Nacional Volcan Tenorio, I think is what that says.
Yes. Yeah, so on that northern tip almost of Costa Rica, found within a single 8-hectare region in a privately owned 100-hectare Tapir Valley Nature Reserve. It occurred at 600 meters above sea level, so who knows what its actual range is. We're going off of 2 individuals here, like it's not much to go off of. But the estimated area of occupancy and extent of occurrence is about 4 kilometers squared. My bad, this was in October 2018, but it wasn't until 2022 they were actually what do you want? What's the word for it? Like recognized as a new species.
Like it was formally published and recognized as a new species.
Yes. But the thought is that prior to humans, it kind of had a much larger area of occurrence throughout most of these cloud forests and just rainforests in general within Central America. That is some of the most nature diverse, most biodiverse area of the world, specifically within Costa Rica. And, as humans, we have a lot of threats that interfere with them. We channel a lot of the wetlands for irrigation purposes and for a watering hole for cattle. and it was already prior to this nature reserve forming, it was mostly cultivated grasslands and croplands with very few wetlands. And the wetland is already undergoing vegetative and wetland succession, and it's being filled with erosion from the surrounding mountains. And that, plus the change in vegetation, so the succession of the vegetation plus the erosion kind of accelerates the eutrophication of the wetland, so that water is becoming less oxygen rich for not necessarily adult frogs, but the larvae and the eggs to get their oxygen they need, or the tadpoles, not larvae, same thing. As well as invasive plants that are within the reserve, but the people who own that reserve are doing their best to get rid of the invasives. And it's kind of unknown whether or not chytrid is affecting these guys. My assumption is it is, but I'm not quite sure about that.
Yeah, the only advantage of it being a private reserve is they can kind of just do what they want. Now,
Yeah, they don't
fortunately,
have to go get permit. Well, I'm sure they have to get permits still, but they don't have to follow guidelines per se that
yeah, no,
federal
fortunately,
nature.
it seems like that these places are this reserve is being cared for by someone who act like, since it's privately owned, they actually care greatly about the preservation of nature, and especially in Costa Rica, it is the most biodiverse terrestrial like habitat on the planet, like country on the planet, just because of the density of rainforests, having those cloud forests, things like that, has a wide variety of what's the word I'm looking for? Ecosystems.
Right. And as Alex kind of said, that this whole entire place is in a protected area. It's privately owned reserve. And this is fairly new in terms of reserves. It wasn't really established until the early 2000s. But we still need to conserve other areas around it in the event that this occurs in other places, you know. It's a relatively new species, 2018, 2022, so in between there, it was finally like recognized as a species. So we don't exactly have it dialed down on where it lives per se, but it does have at least one protected area, which is good. But that's all I have for this guy. In terms of like conservation, some cool things if you want to take some notes here is that its scientific name, Alacohyla celeste. It's named after the Rio Celeste, which is a nearby river that has some beautiful turquoise waters, apparently. Since that the coloration, that light blue coloration, is kind of reserved within the male vocal sac and the axillary membranes, which is what, toe, like close to the toe,
Yeah, you can
like the
kind
feet.
it'd be more towards the center. The axis is more of the center of the body.
Well, it still has a bluish tint to it in some places.
Yeah, you can kind of see it in this picture near the like the thigh and near the toes, that kind of bluish tinge.
But I will pass it back over to Alex for his. Well, I guess it's more like our um, ecology encyclopedia. We're talking imprinting today.
Yes. So I'm just going to pull up a random picture of kind of what imprinting is. So imprinting is a kind of behavioral phenomenon that happens in a variety of different animals, but it is most notable in things like different birds, especially birds that lay eggs that then hatch into basically functional chicks, like waterfowl. There's a lot of the ground nesting birds, like waterfowl, chickens is another big one. So what, at least in the case of these kind of birds, what imprinting is when the chicks hatch, they are kind of genetically hardwired to look for something kind of walking away from them in a sense, or like whatever the first thing they see. So to them, the first thing they see would be their mother standing over them after they hatch. And so they see their mother, and this imprinting, what this means is that the chicks recognize, this is my mother, I must follow them. And so
Yeah,
then they will follow them anywhere, basically.
it's like a monkey see, monkey do type
Yes.
hard wiring.
Yeah. And there's not, it is most prominent in like waterfowl, chickens, things of that nature, but it is kind of in other animals as well, kind of also do this, especially animals that will give birth to kind of live, like quickly functioning young. So if you think of like your kind of your ungulates as one, so like your cattle, deer,
Yeah, and
things of that nature. That
the quicker that organism like the young is more self-sufficient. So the quicker they're more self-sufficient, the more imprinting plays a factor, I'd say.
correct, because that imprinting causes them to recognize their parent, primarily the mother. And that imprinting, what that means is they recognize, like, the first thing they see is their parent. I must follow them. They will lead me to or give me food. They will protect me, kind of thing. So there are actually documented cases of like researchers who have, or even like farmers who have hatched chicks, like say chickens, and because they were there when the chicks hatched, the chick imprinted upon the researcher or the farmer, and basically is like, this is my parent now, and began to follow them as they would
Yes.
a mother duck or a mother chicken, mother hen. So it is, in some cases, it is not always I don't want to say it's not always a good thing, because that's not, but it is the hardwiring to the first thing they see is connected to
Yeah.
being a parent, is where that it can get a little muddy, I think is the easiest way to describe it.
A lot of AZA compliant facilities like zoos and aquariums and things like that, they typically have some type of doll or puppet or something they use to prevent the young from being imprinted on a person, rather associating it with, granted, it's still a puppet or a doll or whatever, but still understanding that the zookeeper is not the mother, it's something else.
Yeah, because in that case, that the zookeeper leaving, because they have to go home to their family, to their life outside of the zoo, it would cause significant stress to the young animals, because it's like, my mother is gone. I don't know where they're at. I can't
Yeah.
function, because they are still young animals. In the case of like a young waterfowl, they can't fly. They're swimming. They don't swim very fast. They still kind of have to learn those how to be alive, how to eat, what is danger, what is kind of things like that. A lot of those tasks that allow them to function when they eventually become adults.
Anything else, Alex?
No, that is all I got on that. Kind of a neat little tidbit to share.
So let's move us into our final segment for the day. We're talking our From the Vault. We're not opening this vault very far today. We're talking the Vegas Valley leopard frog, which is from, I believe it went extinct in 1942. That's about how far we're opening the vault, about 80 years.
Not long.
So this was obviously found in the Las Vegas Valley, as well as Clark County, Nevada, roughly between 1,200 and 2,400 feet above sea level, or 370 to 760 meters. Historically speaking, the Vanderhost, which I believe would be the discoverer of the species, found 10 specimens in 1942, but those are believed to be the last recorded specimens. So he kind of like took the last bit from the wild and didn't do anything, kind of showed him his collection and said, "Look at these cool things I found."
Unfortunately, that happens more than
Yeah,
history cares to admit.
right. So after more people tried to go out and find these cool things that Vanderhorst found, they came back empty, and it's believed that they are extinct. Yeah. And it is believed, after doing some genetic analysis in 2011, that the closest relative to this guy would be the Chiricahua leopard frog, which I don't think we've talked about yet.
Not sure.
I don't think so.
Lithobates, did we not talk about that?
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head, but we'll find out.
Yeah, they're neobatrachans.
Yeah, that's where we're in right now.
Yeah.
But they're in Rainidae is the family, and we have not.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned about 2-3 weeks. But now more recently, since that's so close, and you're looking at mitochondrial DNA versus actual DNA, you're trying to figure out if the Las Vegas Valley leopard frog is just a subspecies of the Chiricahua leopard frog, or if they're actually two distinct species. That's the big kicker here. That's really all I have for these guys. As I said, they're found in that lot. They were found in the Las Vegas Valley. Anything else, Alex?
Nope. That's pretty much covered it all.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. I've been Tyler. That's been Alex. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart Podcasts. I forget the rest. It's been a while since we've done this. YouTube. We have a website now, actually, and that tells you everywhere you can find it.
We have a website.
It is, I believe it's riverside.life complete story. Don't quote me, but
Why don't you try again?
give me a second. We are in it. I know it exists because I've been on it before. But I mean, make sure to follow Live on this. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Life Complete Story for short form content, amazing species, clips from the upcoming episodes. LifeTheCompleteStory.riverside.com is the website. And you can subscribe to us there to get emailed updates on when we post new episodes.
Hey, would you look at that? There is, yeah. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music as well.
Yeah.
You can find episodes, and these are all linked to where you can read about us or listen to us and watch us, as well as a little bit about us and eventually
if that doesn't
more.
suit your fancy, you can send us an email at lifecompletestory@gmail.com for any questions, comments, concerns that you have. Alex, send us away.
Yes, sir. As we say at the end of every episode, keep on learning, learn something new. You'll never know what you find interesting. I've been Alex, and that's been Tyler, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Life the Complete Story. And we will see you next time.